It takes two visits. I don't know. I don't know why I said visits. Anyway, I was in the middle of an amazing outdoor live broadcast, and I guess I didn't get a very good signal out there. So welcome back. If I've never met you before, I'm Suzy Lolley, and I blog over at suzylolley.com, SUZYLOLLEY. And I would love to have you join me each and every Tuesday for the live video here. And then you can go over to my blog and you'll find a corresponding blog post that I post every Wednesday at 9 p.m. So let's go ahead and dive in. So tonight we're talking about the power of student self-assessment. And I want to set up a scenario for you. And you'll notice me looking down at my notes because I do have those. But the first scenario is that my dog is barking like a maniac. So sorry about that. But anyway, I want to set up a scenario for you, and it is the scenario of me, okay, as an English teacher. If I have any fellow English teachers, I'd love to hear a shout out from you in the comments because we know the power of miserable grading, okay? All the subjects have different challenges. Math is one of those subjects where you're like, most of the kids are going to say they don't get it. This is their hardest subject. But English is one of those subjects where the grading load is going to be crazy, and you don't know how to get out from under it. And so every day of my life, I stayed after school in my classroom. We could leave like at 3:45, I think, in my most recent job. We could have left at 3:45, but I would wake up from a stupor like at 6 o'clock and realize, oh, wait a minute. I've just been like sitting here for a long time and haven't gotten anything accomplished and need to grade stuff. So I would load stuff all in this big, miserable, collapsible crate. If you have one of those, I want to hear a shout out as well. And I would load everything in this miserable collapsible crate. Now, I would organize it. I was very thorough about having systems in my classroom. So I had these purple baskets, and kids would put their stuff in it to turn it in. And then I would very methodically, at the end of the week, usually on Friday, this was my purging, my sense of accomplishment, I would binder clip like items together, put them back in the basket, load the baskets, which were stackable on top of each other, and then carry them home in a miserable crate. Now, here's what was extra fun is when I had to get the crate down the porch of my trailer. That was so fun. And also when I would drop the crate on the way to my car and then have to pick up all the papers again off the ground. Y'all, that was almost like too fun, okay? So I want to help you think about your systems of grading. I'm getting lots of hearts there, okay? I want you to help you think about your systems of grading and think if there's anything we can do about this miserable crate situation. Even if you're not an English teacher, grading is probably driving you crazy. So if you will just do this math with me, when I taught English, it took me about 10 minutes to grade an essay because I was very thorough. I did not want the kids to take forever and then me not even read it. That's ridiculous. So I took about 10 minutes of paper, and when I figured that out mathematically last time, it was about 24 hours if I had graded straight through to grade one set of essays. Ridiculous. And then the kids would just look at the grades, ignore the comments, and go, oh, yeah, I like that. Or, oh, my gosh, why did I get that? And sometimes even throw the paper away. It was like completely devastating after having spent that much time doing what I was doing. They didn't make any changes as a result of any comments because, like I said, a lot of times they weren't even reading the comments. So here are some goals I'd like to give you for grading. And I think probably you can resonate with one of these goals, and feel free to leave that in the comments. Number one, we want to be almost like a coach where we're giving advice, whatever subject it is you teach, we're giving advice and kids are improving based on that advice. If I were athletic, I would imagine that, in a sporty type of thing, that would be the situation. You wouldn't want to tell a kid to choke up on the bat or spread their legs further, bend their knees more, whatever the thing is you say, or if they're running track to keep their arms in or whatever it is, and then see them go out, ignore everything you said and run the exact same way or bat the exact same way or whatever it happens to be. So we want to be the coach and we want to see improvement based on our coaching, our critique. Number two, we want our grading to be quicker. We're all about being thorough, but we want it to be something that we can do in a manageable amount of time because I don't know about you, but I also have a family and I also have activities I like to pursue in the evening besides grading. Grading I hate so much that I used to reward myself by letting myself go clean something or exercise. And if you know me, I despise cleaning and exercise and grading apparently. I do like some things, just not those. I like tiny doors. If you've never seen those in Atlanta, look it up on Instagram. Tiny Doors ATL or ATL Tiny Doors. I can't remember. But I do like things. I just don't like those things. Guys, let me grab a power cable. This is so tacky, but I need to because my phone's about to die. Give me just 1 second. Do, 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 do. Sing the Jeopardy song while you're waiting on me. Do, do, do. And here's the real mystery, friends. Will the plug reach the phone? We don't know. Let's try it. Let's see what I can unplug down here. Y'all, having ruined my second phone in water. Hey, Velva. having ruined my second phone in water, I am having to make do with this other phone that is not use. And I'm going to be so amazing and professional. Can't even wait. Okay. At least we have maybe some power now. Okay. We shall see if that stays. Okay, there we go. I really do have good tips now. Okay, here they go. And this cord's about to break in half, so y'all pray for that. Oh, what fun times we're having. Okay, so number 1, we want kids to take our feedback. Number 2, we want our grading to be quicker. Number 3, if you're like me and you use the rolling crate method, or you did use that, you take all their papers home. How are they going to study? Like, okay, for most of us, there's some kind of a summative assessment. So if these are, questions they needed to be able to study for a quiz, guess what? They don't have them because we've taken that home. So we're going to talk about, let me turn this one off. We're going to talk about student assessment for that reason. And then number 4, we don't want the kids to say that we lost their papers. Y'all, I can't tell you how many times a kid was like, you lost my paper. I'm like, no. I have everybody's clipped together. I didn't say, let me see whose I can lose today and just pull it out of the stack. So, but it gets us off the hook in that regard. It makes sure that kids are able to keep their papers. They're not accusing us of losing them or anything like that. On another day, I want to talk to you guys about how to grade essays quicker. But in the meantime, I want to give you a couple resources that are going to answer these goals that we have. Quicker, more efficient grading. We're not in charge of it. But in the meantime, if you'll visit laurarandazzo.com, so RANDAZZO.com, I've talked about her on here before, and then also Catlin Tucker, C-A-T, like a cat, L-I-N, Tucker.com. I will link to both of those in my blog post, so if you'll visit my blog tomorrow after 9 p.m., you will see Laura Randazzo and Catlin Tucker. They both have different approaches to grading essays faster. I don't want to make this about grading essays because not everybody watching me is an English teacher. I would venture to say most of you are not. But I do want to give you today's tip for student self-assessment. Here's what it is. I had a very methodical, I was about to say a methodical method, a method. I had a very methodical way of having students grade their own papers, and this worked for quizzes, packets, anything where there's enough of it where people are giving an objective answer that we could grade those things together. Okay, so it's not going to be for necessarily essays. That's for another day. We're not talking about that today. But if you have a packet where everybody could have had the same answers, or a quiz where everybody could have the same answers. Back when I was in school, we used to switch papers with a friend. This was probably terrible. But we used to switch papers with a friend, and we would grade each other in green pen, and then the teacher would say, I remember my 7th grade science teacher specifically, would say, okay, call out what your partner got. I mean, completely humiliating. Now, I made A's and B's, so it didn't bother me at all. But what about those kids who didn't? I never one time thought, gosh, this must be embarrassing. So with the method I'm going to show you, it's kids grading their own paper. So here's how it works, okay? Step 1. Kids we've completed whatever assignment. So maybe it's a packet that we finished yesterday, whatever. I hand them all back out. Or maybe it's a reading quiz we just finished today. Whatever the thing may be that has enough commonalities that we can grade it together. Step 1 is I give those papers back out. Step 2, kids drop their pencils or pens on the floor. I would say, I want to hear it hit the ground. I don't know why I said it like that, but I specifically said, drop your pen or pencil on the floor. I want to hear it hit the ground. Okay, so if you want to practice being just like me, you could say that. Okay, hey Heather. And so after it would hit the ground, then I would have them either grab a highlighter, trade pens with a friend, or come get something from me. Okay, so you need some kind of a different writing utensil. If you wrote in pencil or pen on the packet, then you now have a highlighter, an obnoxious crayon, a marker, or a different colored pen in your hand. Okay, so you've dropped your pen or pencil on the floor. We've heard it hit the ground. So I would just seriously hear a chorus all around my classroom. I don't know why, but I just wanted to make sure that pen or pencil was nowhere within reach. Then they have a different color to grade with, okay? And then here's what we did. It was a 2-pass system. And when I say pass, I don't mean passing grades, okay? You'll hear what I'm talking about here. So for example, we did a poetry packet in class. And on the poetry packet, it was a lot about terms and identifying examples, and then they might create or write some as well. But the part we're grading together is the part where, like I said, it's objective. We could all have the same answer. So here's what the first pass would be. I had them take their marker, their highlighter in hand, and go through and put an X through anything they skipped. Okay? So I would give them 1, 2, 3 minutes because some kids skipped a lot. And they would go through and they would mark through everything that they had left blank on the packet. Okay? If something's blank, clearly it's wrong. Okay? But I'm not, so that's more of the completion grade of the packet. But I did not grade for completion. I mean, really, ever in my classroom. I guess I was probably the meanest teacher ever, but I didn't really grade for completion. Hey, Dad. So I would have them go through and put a mark through everything they did not do. Okay, so those are obviously going to count against them. Okay, the second pass, I put a key up on the board, and I was very strategic with my key. So here's the tip: there are some questions that were too subjective for us to grade altogether. So for the poetry packet, I wasn't going to ask them to check for accuracy one of their opinion questions, but they could tell me if how many stanzas were in the poem, or if this was a ballad or a sonnet, or what type of sonnet it was, those kinds of things. What I did was I picked maybe 20. It just depended on, if this is just one worksheet, you could pick 5, but for say a packet, pick 20 that everybody could agree on. Everybody should have the same answer. And you make a PowerPoint slide or a smart notebook document or whatever your jam is. Write them on the whiteboard. I don't care. But you make yourself a key that everybody can access. And you tell the kids, now I want you to run through and I want you to grade these for accuracy. If they had already marked one that they did not do, they're not going to do a double whammy and count it against themselves, okay? So say there were 5 they skipped, then they're going to go through now and grade these 20 for accuracy, okay? When they were done, they were going to write their total number missed out of the total possible. And I also had for them, because I found that sometimes students, math is not their number one talent. Remember, we just mentioned that a few minutes ago. So I would then have them use my key on the board, and I went through, maybe if I knew there were going to be 20 possible that they could have missed, I would have run my key through that. But use that little speed grader wheel thing that we all bought at School Box when we first started teaching. And if you're a young baby teacher, you should go get one. They're fabulous. It does the math for you. And so I would say, okay, if you got a -1, it was this, -2. So I had a slide that had the key on it. When we were done with that, I had a slide that also had the grading key. So how many did you miss? And that included the number you skipped plus the number you got wrong. Okay, and we took that total out of the number possible, and then that was their grade. The student, him or herself, did all of this work. They put their grade on the top of their paper with a big circle around it. Now, were there times I would go back and check? Absolutely. If a kid said they missed 56 problems and they got an 85, okay, then I might go back and check that. Or if there's a kid, I'll be honest, if there's a kid I was kind of suspicious of or didn't think could handle this procedure, then I would go back and check it. But kids were meeting all 4 of my goals. Number 1, I wanted them to improve based on the comments. They were forced to see what they got wrong because they actually wrote it down. Now I said for essays, this is not the method for that. I can talk about that on a different day, because I did have some ways to make essay grading easier. Actually, I want to pause right here and give a public service announcement. The first week of September, I am co-hosting a 1-week or 5-day efficient teacher conference. You can tune in online. I'm finalizing. I have some speakers that I'm trying to finalize right now. So as soon as we get the speakers launched, we'll talk about that. But it's going to be the first week of September. Hey, Heather, number 2. And it would be a great way to learn more things about like how to grade essays faster, just all kinds of things about, efficiency for new teachers, blah, blah, blah. I'll give you more information and the website as soon as I have that. But anyway, this method is going to meet all the goals. The kids are improving because they're seeing what feedback the coach gave them. They are the coach, okay? They're reading my key, but they're getting to forcefully see why they got wrong, what they got wrong. I mean, I never had kids really argue about when they graded themselves. Number 2, it's quicker grading. Number 3, they have the packet in hand. So as soon as I write down their grades, which I could do quickly by running through, walking through, writing on my clipboard, you've got your paper to take home. And then you can't accuse me of losing it, okay? Now, most kids did not do that, but I'm saying I did have kids over the years that just were lazy, and they would say, you lost my paper. Well, whether I did or didn't, in this method, I don't have to worry about that. Hello, Dusty. So no lost papers. It really does meet all the goals with just the simple drop your pencil on the ground, pick up a marker, mark the ones that you skipped, mark the ones that are, that are incorrect. And then you've got all that taken care of, and I'm done. I've got a grade that I'm ready to put in my grade book, and I've graded everybody simultaneously. Y'all, this is kind of magical. So I want to give one last it's kind of a commercial, but I do sell on Teachers Pay Teachers, and I've got 2 examples on there that would be fabulous for using this self-grading method. I've got a poetry packet, And then I've also got a Macbeth study questions with answers for every act, every scene. With both of those, you can use the self-grading method. With the poetry packet, I specifically gave you the same directions I'm sharing here on how to use that method. So I hope this helped you. What I would love to hear is in the comments here or on my blog, if you're using tips to make your grading more efficient that I skipped, or if you're like, Suzy, I want more information about that Efficient Teacher Conference, then if you'll just leave a comment here. So glad to see you. I'll be back next Tuesday for my last episode of the season. I'm going to take a summer break and then just pop in randomly. Like, for example, I'm going to Indiana to speak as a featured presenter, which is very exciting, June 6th and 7th. So I'll probably share some feedback from there. I'm going to speak virtually at a Texas conference that on June 5th. So I'll be popping in to share some little tips and tricks that I pick up that I'm excited about. But no more regularly scheduled Tuesdays until the fall. So until then, go back. I've got one more week. Come see me next Tuesday. But go back and read my blog. I've got Techmas. I've got 20 of these, so we're up to like 32 blog posts you can read and things you can watch if you miss me. Just being funny there, okay? Take care. Happy summer, everybody. I'll see you next Tuesday.